Perspective. I had no friends, no life, not even one hobby. I was just working my life away, chasing money, stayed at home, and then went to bed and repeat. If this is you, you need to watch this video. Back in 2022, I went to Mexico solo for the first time ever. And if you're wondering, yes, I was completely nervous. This was about 3 years in the making. And now that I look back at it, it probably wasn't the right time. And when I wanted to go to Mexico, because I had that feeling, I kept on making excuses. At the time, I was making a good amount of money and I was very focused on my business. And like I said, I had no life back then. But then guess what happened? You guessed it right. Your girl got sick. I saw my life flash before my eyes. I realized at that very moment that nothing else mattered. My bills didn't matter. The amount of money didn't matter. Like, none of those things mattered. The one thing that mattered to me that I regretted the most was not doing the things that I've been wanting to do, that made my heart sing. At the time, I actually wanted to stop doing the business I was doing because I was tired of it, but kept on listening to people. And that was that turning moment where I was like, you know what? When I get better, I'm gonna do the very things that I want to do despite what other people think. Mexico changed my life, and I'm gonna share the transformations and the learning moments I had once I came back to Canada, once I had a new perspective. Welcome to Notes from Your Bestie. You are now in a bestie environment where we're gonna have real life conversations, be authentic, and not be ashamed of the things that we go through every day, especially as women. Start going to places by yourself and stop worrying about what other people think. When I went to Mexico for the first time, I knew that I definitely needed to push myself and do things. I didn't know at the time that the transformation it was gonna take me through, but I knew I had to push myself to go outside because I knew no one there, and I wasn't about to spend all that money to stay in the house. Because I had that experience of pushing myself outside of my norm, of my bubble that I was used to, when I came back to Canada, one of the biggest things I noticed was I was not dreaming big enough, and the bar wasn't really high because all I did, like I said in the beginning of the video, was just work, sleep, stay at home, and that was it. And then I wondered why I was feeling unhappy and depressed at times and not feeling like I'm living my best life. The biggest promise that I had for myself was I was gonna enjoy myself more and treat myself better. I started doing my nails more. I started doing more massages. I even started going to dinner by myself. And by the way, if you cringe when you heard me going to dinner by myself because that just struck the nervous part in you, just know no one is paying attention to you when you go to dinner by yourself. No one's watching you. No one's wondering why are they eating by themselves. Like, no one's thinking that. Everyone's there to get their belly full. And I found that it just got easier and easier to go to dinner by myself and nothing would happen. No one would die. If anything, I would be chatting up with people and starting conversation. The more you do things for yourself and treat yourself well, your value goes way up. Your expectation goes way up. Your confidence goes way up. This is for the single people here. I even noticed that this helped me in dating. The desperation went down, the loneliness went down, because you see, when you start doing things for yourself, you are not depending on someone else to fill that void that you're feeling that you're not doing for yourself. As soon as you start doing it for yourself, the bar starts to raise. The biggest thing I noticed was I wasn't settling for anything less than how I was treating myself. People will always treat you the way you treat yourself. So if your bar is really low for yourself and you choose not to do the things for yourself that will make you happy, guess what? How someone else is going to treat you. It took me years to understand this, but you don't need a vacation to feel or love your life even more. You can start where you are. The biggest eye-opener for me when I was in Mexico, and I remember asking myself this question, was, hold on here, I'm having a blast, I don't feel lonely anymore. why am I not doing the same thing I'm doing in Mexico, in Canada? That's why I'm trying to tell you, you don't need to go on vacation to enjoy your life now. It just takes you to do the things that you usually do on a vacation and do them here. Of course, if you don't have beaches, you're gonna have to go to beaches. Like, I can't help you there. Going to places by yourself leaves the door open for you to meet new people, for you to strike up conversations, and it leaves an opportunity for you to get off the phone. Find a hobby, okay? Find a hobby. Mexico forced me to put my granny panties on. It forced me to get out the house despite how I felt, whether I was tired or had too much work, and it led me to finding a salsa and bachata studio in Mexico. It ended up being the best thing I ever did because I not only made new friends and became really good friends with the owner, I got to experience what it's like to get a rush of energy when you enjoy doing something. When I came back home to Canada, I immediately went on Bumble BFF to make new friends because I was like, we're not coming back from that new Nikia in Mexico to bring back the old Nikia in Canada that was lonely, depressed, and doing nothing but her life in terms of personal life, okay? And so that ended up being the best summer ever. And we went to so many events. There was a big group of us. We had a blast. I want to put something out there. It was so nice to not be home, being all depressed, staying up in the house when I was meeting a lot of people and making new friends. Like, I was not depressed once. I was not lonely once or sad once because it really helped my mood. I went even when I was tired. And I want to say this, is that if you work in a regular 9 to 5 or whatever that is and you finish in the evening and you want to have a hobby, but then every time you're about to go outside or you're about to meet up friends, you're like, oh, I'm too tired for this. Go anyways. I encourage you to try it and go anyways. Every time I've told myself that I'm tired and then I went outside to do that very thing, to do the plans that I had, I always came back in the house fully energized, like I couldn't even sleep. It is so worth it to go. And the thing about it is the more you do it, and you stop doing things based on how you feel, and you stop doing things based on how exhausted you feel, you're gonna find that it gets easier, and eventually, because you know the feeling of how it feels to be excited, you're not going to have a hard time going out because you know when you go out you have a good time and it feels good. But it starts with not listening to your feelings in the beginning when your mind and your body's like, I'm tired. Because you know what happens when you always listen to your mind and your body telling you that you're tired? It leads to loneliness. It leads to no friends. You need friends. You need hobbies. Start doing hobbies and find a hobby if you don't have one right now. It's not enough to just do work. I basically mimicked everything I did on that vacation. I signed up for dance classes right away, made new friends, was going out in the evenings. I had a blast. Most times, you're not gonna feel like it. Every time you don't feel like going outside of your house, here's a magic trick. Tell yourself this one sentence. Hey, you could only go for an hour or so and then leave. It's okay. Even if you don't like it, you will go for an hour, 30 minutes, and then you leave if you don't like it. That's it, and you go back home. If you feel tired, that's okay. You go back home. That's okay. You could always leave. Doing this worked like a charm. Saying that statement made me feel safe, and it reminded myself that if I ever felt tired or I wanted to leave, I was not stuck. Because you see, there's always an underlying fear when you're putting yourself out there. Usually there'll be some worry like, oh, are they gonna like me? Say if there's no conversation, and then what happens is that we talk ourselves out of going to that very place that we could potentially make friends or even have fun or enjoy ourselves. And for me, I believe my biggest fear was feeling like I was stuck if I went and didn't like it or if I was tired and so forth. So then I wouldn't go because I'm like, well, I'm tired now. And if I go, I'm going to have to stay from like the 7th to all the way 10 o'clock and then it'll be all awkward. Using that one statement changed the game for me. And it helped me go out and do new things and meet new people and get out my comfort zone. You know what's the funny part is every time I ended up going and telling myself, oh, I'll just stay for 30 minutes or an hour, I would always end up having a blast and end up staying way later and end up not being tired anymore because I had so much fun. I believe we all have to wake up and realize that, of course, it's comfortable to stay in our house and stay in bed. We live there. It's the most comfortable place to be in your own little space, especially if you're an introvert. Like, it's the most comfortable thing. But then there's always consequences to our actions, right? Good or bad. You stay home, you're not making any friends. So we all have to be aware of that. We know it's comfortable, but you need to push yourself for your sake of your mental health to get out there and meet people. Especially in our culture nowadays. It's just so easy to stay within our bubble. It's so easy to just go to work, come back home, and that's it. That was one of the biggest things I noticed when I came back here. Was I noticed people would just go to work, come back home, and that's it. There was no social life. Like, a lot of people don't have social life, and that's why you're seeing a lot of depression and anxiety, and the list can go on with that, where people are just not very happy with their lives. People are just choosing to stay amongst themselves, stay in their little bubble, not choosing to branch out and expand and meet people and make new friends. Like, people are literally choosing to stay within their comfort box and not branch out and meet new people. It's so important to do this. If you're in that place where I was before I went to Mexico, and you're like, you know what, I'm still not comfortable with my current environment, I still can't really see it, like, it still makes me nervous, just go on Google Flights right now and book a flight. And go solo. Don't use this as an excuse to go with a friend. Go solo and experience it yourself, because you know what? It's gonna force you to go outside of your comfort zone and you're gonna get a new perspective. You're going to be able to see the holes, see the parts in your life that you need to change and add more value to. That's exactly what happened to me. Besties, let me know if you have experienced this or what you're gonna do moving forward to live life to its fullest.